Hi there, welcome to the Alpha Wave Trader week ahead. Today I just wanted to focus on uranium, a much unloved commodity, that's for sure. But to me it's showing signs of bottoming out, and I think the current sell-off is going to ultimately provide a really good entry point into various uranium stocks. So I just wanted to show you the setup. And this can be useful in looking at stocks as well, looking for reversals. It's something that's quite universal, happens all over the place. And I'll show you where the best opportunities are when you're looking at this structure. So here's uranium over the last decade. And you can see it's been a terrible sell-off post-Fukushima, really collapsing. People thinking that there's no future for uranium. But there is still demand out there and growth in nuclear power stations. And look, there's been a big overhang of uranium post the sort of thawing of relations between the US and Russia, selling down stockpiles. And of course, with a price down near the cost of production, you have mothballed uranium mines and not really much effort in increasing production. So it's sort of a perfect storm arriving where the market will come back into balance and potentially become out of balance quite quickly. And if you look at prices are moving currently, it's really is a classic setup of a market turning around. And what I want you to focus on, you can see from this big wave lower, we've had this initial wave higher, which has come back right into the buy zone. If you've been watching these videos, you'll know that 75 to 87% retracement is the spot I really like to see prices get to before having a reversal. And then we've had a little internal wave, which is pretty much a similar structure going into the buy zone of that wave. So really shaking people out. But then it has gone higher and it's taken out that high there. You can see, so it's the first signs of potentially prices turning around because it's gone above the high of the previous wave. But then the selling's come back in, and in the last year we've seen prices selling off again. And I'm most interested in the buy zone of this little wave here. And that comes in around $21 to $22, which is just a little lower than here. Price is sitting around 25 bucks at the moment and still in monthly downtrend. If we just quickly analyze what prices have done, you can see once it got to the high here, we've got the monthly sell pivot there, which is when prices closed on a monthly basis below the low of the highest price candle. Then we had the big sell-off after trying to rally, and then it's really turned down. And you can see that we haven't had a monthly buy pivot yet, even though prices have tried to spike higher here in the short term. They're turning back down again. So we might be in for another wave lower, which hopefully will take it down into that $21 to $22 range. And then from there, I'll be waiting for a buy pivot or something from that zone. Because if I'm wrong about prices and we see a continued trend down, well, you don't need to do anything. And if it breaks below the low of the whole structure, then it's looking really nasty, and we've got to wait for another flush out. And there won't be many mines making any money if it's below $17. So I don't know that it can really get too much lower than there. But basically from here, I'm waiting to see how prices react as we sell off. And as long as we remain above the low there in prices, which is around 20 bucks, and if we see a reversal, which is a buy pivot from this zone, that really is quite an exciting point, and this is the thing I wanted you to focus on. Was we've got the initial wave higher back into the buy zone, then we could say, simplifying it, a second wave higher, then back into the buy zone, and it's that area, that buy zone on the second wave, once it has broken above the high of that previous wave. So we've got the start of what is potentially an uptrend. It is this zone that is your best opportunity, because if prices do bust out above that next high, you've all of a sudden got what looks like an uptrend, and that wave, this wave higher here, is the one that can really be the reversal of this whole wave down. So I think uranium is looking pretty interesting from that point of view. We're not there yet, and it's not time to pull the trigger yet, but doing a bit of work on different uranium stocks that may be interesting, and Paladin may be one of those, with a mothballed mine under care and maintenance, that could be an interesting buy down the track on a long-term view, that uranium and nuclear energy is still going to be part of the mix, that solar and wind can't be an answer to baseload energy long term. And I guess that is my view. And with prices looking so interesting in setting up what is a fairly classic structure for a market turning around, it's worth pricking your ears up and just seeing what happens over this next 6 months, few months, however long it takes to get down into that zone and create the reversal, which is the buy pivot, to then be really having a little stab at the prospect that things can turn back up in uranium. So that's it for this week. The overall market's very difficult to predict right here. I think they can collapse or break out to a completely mad rally. So I'm not sticking my neck out right at the moment. But just with the sogginess on the back of the Iran US problems, if it does create a weekly sell pivot up here in the S&P, I'll be interested in looking for potential short opportunities, because the market can look pretty bad pretty quickly if we fall below the highs of last year in the S&P. So it is a pretty interesting setup to potentially turn back down, but nothing is confirmed yet. All right, well, that's it. I'll come back with more next week. Cheers.